सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः. So the topic is that even though Vedanta says that Brahman is Jagat Karanam, that is a huge topic. You know that a conscious being is the Karanam, the source of the universe, but this particular stand, this particular statement made by Vedanta is not accepted by some schools within India. They are like Sankhya, Nyaya, Vaiseshika, but they also have to be looked at. A student of Vedanta has to look at what they say. They may be saying wrong, but I must know how it is wrong. That is important. In seeing how it is wrong, then I also come to understand how Vedanta is right. You see? Therefore, how is it wrong? You see, how is it wrong is enlightenment. It's a very big thing. How is Sankhya wrong? How is Vaiseshika wrong? How is Shunyavada wrong? Discovering their being wrong is Brahma Jnanam really. Discovering, not believing merely, but discovering how they are wrong is a part of Vichara. That is Vichara Vishayam. Therefore here Bhashyakara is trying to first explain away, doing Anuvada. See, what do they say? This must be presented. Sankhya, Nyaya, Vaiseshika have to be presented in their essentials. We don't have to go into the entire Sankhya Darshanam, because the entire Sankhya Darshanam ultimately boils down to things. That essential point is that a conscious being, Brahman, is not Jagat Karanam, only inert matter. The subtle inert matter is Jagat Karanam. The invisible subtle matter, the unmanifest subtle matter, well transforms and becomes the gross manifest matter. Brahman is not Jagat Karanam. Pradhanam is that subtle inert matter is what is called the Pradhanam. So Pradhanam is, the matter is the source of the world, not Chetanam. This is enough for us. This is the essential point. Another point is, one Purusha is, every Purusha is, every conscious being is unlimited, and such conscious beings are countless in number. There are countless number of unlimited conscious beings. This is another essential point. The third essential point of Sankhya school is that somehow or other there is a contact between the Purusha and Prakriti. This is a Sanyoga Rupa. And even though it is Asangaha, but due to Aviveka there is a Sangha. You see, this is another essential. You say the Purusha is Asangaha by nature, and then you say it has Sangha with the body due to inadvertency or due to Avidya, due to Aviveka, let them call. But anyway, these are all the essential points which need to be which need to be refuted by a student. Now, just as the Sankhya comes up with certain speculations, like Pradhanam is Jagat Karanam, Purushas are unlimited in number, even the Vaiseshikas also have their own school. The Vaiseshikas say that atoms are the Jagat Karanam. Atoms are Jagat Karanam. And what we call consciousness is a guna of Dravya. Matter is Dravya, and consciousness is an attribute of that very Dravya, that very material thing. So anyway, we don't have to dismiss every essential point. You dismiss the basic. If Jagat Karanam, what is Jagat Karanam? You see, if the Jagat Karanam is not atoms, if the Jagat Karanam is not matter, then if Jagat Karanam is conscious being, that essential thing is refuted, then everything else gets refuted. You see, you don't have to refute everything. You don't have to refute everything honestly. By refuting the fundamental, everything else gets refuted. And therefore, here we are taking up this particular topic of what is Jagat Karanam. What is the source of Jagat? Vedanta says Brahman is Jagat Karanam. Sankhya says Pradhanam is Jagat Karanam. Vaiseshika says Anus are Jagat Karanam. Atoms are Jagat Karanam. And Shunyavadi, a Buddhist, says Shunya means emptiness is the crux of the universe. Emptiness, Shunyam. There is nothing behind the universe. Shunya means the Jagat Karanam. This is what the Buddhists say, not Buddha, because we don't know what Buddha said. Nor are we interested. What is it that is in the form of Buddhism? Buddhism is Shunya. Clear? Now we go ahead. Tatra padavakya pramanajnena acharyena Vedanta Vakyanam Brahmavagati Bharatva Darshanaya Vakyabhasa Yukyabhasa Vipratipattayaha Purupakshi Kritya Nirakriyante. So Tatra, now when this is the situation, Padavakya Pramanajnena Acharyena. Vedavyasa is Padajnaha, Vakyajnaha and Pramanajnaha. The one who understands the Pada. Pada means he knows the Vyakaranam, the grammar. He knows the language. Pada. That also, it can be interpreted that way. Pada. Then Vakya means he understands really Vedanta Vakyas. He knows the vision of the Vedanta Vakyas. And he also has knowledge about Pramanas. What are the Pratyakshadi Pramanas? What is Shabda Pramanam? And the one who is able to see the difference between what the Pratyakshadi Pramanas can convey and what is Shabda Pramana meant for. In this manner, he has the vision of the language, he has the vision of the Vedanta Vakyas, and he has the vision of the various means of knowledge. That is Pramanas. And the one who understands all of this is called Pada, Vakya, Pramanajnaha. Pramanajnaha means the one who knows Pada, Vakya and Pramana. And by him, Padavakya Pramanajnena, Acharyena, by the Acharya, Vedanta Vakyanam, Brahmavagati Bharatva Darshanaya, in order to show that all the Vedanta Vakyas are meant to convey the self as unlimited. Vedavyasa wants to show that all the Vedanta Vakyas are meant to convey this very observer as the unlimited being. That is, Vedanta Vakyanam Brahmavagati Paratva Darshanaya. In order to show that all the Vedantas have got the status of being the means of conveying the Atma as Brahma. They have no other job. That the Vedanta Vakyas have no other job than conveying this very conscious being who is seeing through the eyes, hearing through the ears, thinking through the mind, the one who is experiencing the waking, dream and sleep, and the one who is also seems to be suffering, Sukhi, Dukhi, Karta, Bhokta, this himself, this very conscious being, is in fact, Brahma Vastu is an unlimited being, ununderstood. This he wants to show. Therefore, Padavakya Pramanajnena Acharyena Vedanta Vakyanam Brahmavagati Paratva Darshanaya. And in order to show this, you have to remove the hurdles. Hurdles means the objections, the universal. You have to refute the various objections. These objections that are put up by Sankhya and Vaiseshika, they are not merely two schools of thought. In fact, these are the universal thoughts, universal thinkings. That is why Vakya Bhasa. Now the Sankhya and Vaiseshika, when they put up their objections, when they take a stand that Pradhanam is the Jagat Karanam, not Brahma, atoms are the Jagat Karanam, not Brahma, when they take this stand, in fact they use wrong logic. And also they quote Vedanta, they interpret Vedanta Vakyas wrongly, they misinterpret. Vedanta Vakyas misinterpreted is what is called Vakya Abhasa. Vedanta Vakyas misinterpreted. They misinterpret the Vedanta Vakyas. That is called Vakya Abhasa. Then Yukti Abhasa. And they use the wrong logic also. So wrong forms of logic. Wrong forms of logic is called Yukti Abhasa. And Vedanta Vakyas misinterpreted are called Vakya Abhasa. Abhasa means, distortion. Distorted Vedanta Vakyas and also distorted forms of logic. They take the help of them. Vakyabhasa, Yukyabhasa, Vipratipattayaha, the various different views, the erroneous views are called Vipratipattaya. Pratipatti means Jnanam, Vipratipatti means each different. Sankhya view is different from Vaiseshika view. Vaiseshika view is different from Sankhya view and from Nyaya view. That there is a mutual, what we call contradiction. They are all called Vipratipattayaha. They not only mutually conflict, but fundamentally all of them are erroneous views. An erroneous view is what is called Vipratipatti. Viruddha Pratipatti. Contradictory views. So these Vipratipattayaha, the various schools of thought, like Sankhya, like Nyaya, like Vaiseshika, like Buddhism, etc., like Charvaka, all of them, which are all standing on the misinterpretation of Vedanta Vakyas, and also the distortions of the forms of logic, wrong forms of logic. Based upon them, there are many schools of thought which are all called Vipratipattayaha. Vipratipattaya means the various wrong views. Various wrong views. Vipratipattayaha are countless. Therefore, how many schools of thought can be there? The wrong views can be countless. And each view has got his own school of thought. Therefore, there can be mushroom of institutions. Apna view batane. So, Vipratipattayaha Purvapakshi Kritya, making them as objectionists. Purvapaksha banake unko. Purvapakshi Kritya, making all these views as opposing schools of thought, Purvapakshis. Nirakriyante, Vipratipattayaha Nirakriyante, are refuted. Nirakaran kiya jate hain. Is all, passive voice. Nirakriyante. So thus the various schools of thought which stand against the Vedantic view that this very observer is the truth. Understand, the Vedantic view that this very observer is the truth. This stand taken by the Vedic culture, The Vedic culture takes the stand that this Atma is Brahman, and this school, this particular Vedic vision is opposed by various other schools, and those schools are all standing on misinterpretation of the Vakyas and wrong forms of logic, and they need to be refuted. Do you know what is refuting? Understanding that they are wrong. Even though I can't refute it in his view, I may not refute Sankhya in the eyes of Sankhya, but in my eyes I must see how it is wrong. I must refute the various schools in my own eyes. Otherwise I can't be free. Then I may have a doubt. And therefore it is necessary for a student of Vedanta to refute these various schools. Meaning it is necessary to understand. Because even if you refute a Sankhya, he is not going to accept. Understand? No Sankhya will accept. You know, after refuting Sankhya, then if Sankhya feels refuted, then he should come. He should go by Vedanta, but he will not come to Vedanta. Only once it happened. Shankaracharya refuted Mandana Mishra and he became a sannyasi. Only once in the whole history of Vedanta. In the whole history of Vedic culture, there was one person who was so objective. When he was told how he was wrong, immediately he becomes a sannyasi and then goes by Vedanta. He leaves the Karma Kanda. When he discovered Karma Kanda is not the answer. Karma Kanda may give you a relief. Karma Kanda is not the answer. Then he discovers it, he becomes a sannyasi student of Shankaracharya and goes into Vedanta. Not only goes into Vedanta, he understands it. Not only understands it, really he writes books which are some of the best, like Vartika, etc. And therefore you can't expect a Sankhya to do like that. And therefore you can't refute a person. You can't refute a school of thought in the eyes of the one who has initiated it. You can only refute a school for yourself. That alone should be the approach of a Vedanta. That alone should be. Supposing you feel uncomfortable unless everybody thinks Vedanta is right, then you will be uncomfortable forever. Is it in our compound? And outside the compound, you see there, I think, they have to be told. You can tell them. You see, it's wrong. Otherwise, we will take the help of somebody. You see, some officer. Police have to be told. Every morning they create a problem. And therefore, this is a very important point. I can't refute anybody in his eye. I can't refute a person. I need to refute a school. And I can refute a school also, only for myself. I can see how it is wrong. Then I am free from it. That is what matters. But if the other person says, I don't believe, then I have to leave it. I don't believe it. You have to see how a given theology is wrong. I have to see how a given theology is wrong, so that I am free from it. Now, if you have to make every theologian to feel how it is wrong, is it ever possible? That is why what our Vedic culture says, you liberate yourself from the wrong. You liberate. You can't make everybody free from Ragadvesha. You can only become yourself free from Ragadvesha. You can't really liberate everybody because that's not, in fact, that is not the program. Liberating everybody is a contradiction. That's a virodha. That's a contradiction because that's not possible. I can liberate myself from my confusion. And if somebody comes as a student, I can teach him so that, with the help of that teaching, that the other person also can think and know and become free from his confusion. That means he has to work for his liberation. I have to work for my liberation. In fact, every jiva has to work for his liberation. You can't liberate anybody. you can't liberate anybody, please. That's a contradiction. That's a contradiction. And therefore, when a person takes up Vedanta to begin with, there is a new Josh, Nai Josh. Tries to refute everybody and pick up argument with everybody. Takes a long time to discover that is a contradiction. Do you see really this particular theory is wrong? Do you see that Sankhya is wrong? Do you see that the Vaiseshika is wrong? Do you see that Mula Vidya is wrong? Do you see all these various school theologies are wrong? If you have seen them as wrong, not believe them as wrong, then you are free from them. You are free from them. They can't touch you. No, not only I want to be free from all of them, I want the whole world to be free from. That's not possible. That is not, because everybody has to liberate himself from the wrong views. Everybody has to become free from. Then that Josh will come down, Hosh will come up, he will start enjoying the Pramana. That's very well. Otherwise, the Naya, it is like, South Koreans, they were recently converted to Christianity. And then now they themselves want to convert everybody and to go around the whole world and try to convert. This is called, Josh, Naya Josh. Okay, this point is necessary. And therefore, Tatra Sankhyaha Pradhanam Nirgunamachetanam Jagatah Karanamiti Manyamanaha Huhu. Tatra, among various schools, let us first take Sankhya. Here the Bhashikara says, Sankhyaha, what do they say? Sankhyaha Pradhanam, Pradhan ko, Trigunam means it enjoys, the Pradhanam is a material thing. It is an inert matter which enjoys three qualities called Sattva-guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna. It's called Trigunam, Pradhanam, Trigunam, Achetanam, all neuter gender. Therefore, is all second case also. Pradhanam, Trigunam, it is all first case, neuter gender, first case. Pradhanam, Trigunam, Achetanam, Jagatah Karanam. He is the source of the universe. Inert, subtle matter which has the qualities like Sattva, Rajas, Tamo, Gunas. Well, he is the crux of this world. Iti, in this manner, Manyamanaha, thinking. Manyamanaha, thinking. Ahuhu, thinking like this, they say. They are thinking that Brahman is not the Jagat Karanam, only the Pradhanam is the Jagat Karanam. Thinking in this manner, they say. What do they say? Yani Vedanta Vakyani Sarvajnasya Sarvashaktehe Brahmana Jagat Karanatvam Darshayanti Ityavochaha Tani Pradhana Karana Pakshepi Yojayatum Shakyante. This is what they say. A very, 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 very serious statement. You know what they say? Hey Brahmavadi, hey Vedanti, you try to say that Brahman is Jagat Karanam only on the strength of Vedanta Vakyas. Okay? Vedanta Vakyas say that Brahman is Jagat Karanam. Therefore, you take the side of Vedanta and the strength of the Vedanta Vakyas, you make a statement that Brahman is Jagat Karanam. It means like this. You are not real, they are all Vakyas, and Vakyas are available for interpretation. They are all statements, and statements means they are available for interpretation. Whatever you say is available for interpretation. Therefore, you are only interpreting the Vedanta Vakyas in the sense of Brahman being the Jagat Karanam. The same thing I can do, I can interpret all the Vedanta Vakyas in the sense of Pradhanam being Jagat Karanam. There is no difficulty. There is no difficulty. If a Vakyam can be interpreted this way, it can also be interpreted some other way. What is there? And therefore, here he says, It is not that Vedanta is saying Brahmani Jagat Karanam. Your interpretation of Vedanta Vakya is saying that Brahmani Jagat Karanam. Very serious matter. Vedanta Vakyas don't say. Vedanta Vakyas may say something. We don't know what they mean. We only hear what they say. We hear the words. We hear the words. But what they mean, I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Therefore, you are interpreting them in the sense of Brahman as Jagat Karanam. I can also interpret them in the sense of Pradhanam, atoms. They can also interpret the same way. Even Buddhists say we can also interpret Vedanta in the sense of Shunyavada. Therefore, Vedanta, don't say this is what Vedanta says. Say this is what my interpretation of Vedanta says. See? यानी वेदांत वाक्यानि जो वेदांत वाक्य हैं सर्वज्ञस्य सर्वशक्तेः ब्रह्मणः जगत्कारणत्वं दर्शयन्ति. The Vedanta Vakyas which seem to show that the Jagat Karanam is indeed Sarvajna, Sarvajnasya, Sarvajnaka, Sarvashaktehe, Sarvashaktika, Brahmanaha, Brahmaka, Jagat Karanatvam, Jagat Karana Hona, Darshayanti show. The Vedanta Vakyas which seem to show, the Vedanta Vakyas which seem to tell that Brahmanda Sarvajnaha, Brahmanda Sarvajnam, Brahmanda Sarvashakti is the Jagat Karanam. This is what really Vedanta Vakyas seem to tell. But these Vakyas, iti avochaha. This is what you said, my dear Vedanti. Here the Purvak is saying, this is what you said. What did you say? That all the Vedanta Vakyas say that Brahman is Jagat Karanam, Brahman the Sarvajnam is Jagat Karanam, Brahman the Sarvashakti is Jagat Karanam, and this is what Vedanta Vakyas say. In this manner, this is what you said, my dear Vedanti. But what I have got to say is, Tani Vakyani, the same Vakyas, the same Vedanta Vakyas, Pradhana Karana Pakshepi, even in the sense of Pradhanam as Jagat Karanam, Yojayatum, Yojayatum means to interpret. Yojana karne ke liye, Shakyante, it's possible. It's possible to interpret all your Vedanta Vakyas in the sense of Pradhanam as Jagat Karanam. Have you followed these lines? So he says, you said that the Vedanta Vakyas say, but don't say that they say. Say, that is what your interpretation of them says. Why? Because I can also interpret. It is only your interpretation. I can only make another interpretation because nobody knows what they say, what they mean. What they say we know, but what they mean, we don't know. Let Bhagavan come and say something. I tell you there will be 1,000 interpretations. There will be 1,000 interpretations. You have to scrutinize every word and ultimately understand wrongly. Nobody knows. Clear? Sarva Shaktitvam Tavati Pradhanasyapi Sarva Vikara Vishayam Upapadyate. See, now he interprets. Hey, you say Brahman is Sarvajnam. You say the Brahman is Jagat Karanam and Brahman is Sarvajnam. You say. That means the Jagat Karanam, the source of the universe, you want it to be Sarvajna. Hey, if your Brahman is Sarvajnam, my Pradhanam also can be Sarvajnam. In fact, your Brahman cannot be Sarvajnam, really speaking. That I will show later on. But to begin with, let me accept for the time being that if your Brahman is Sarvajnam, then my Pradhanam also is Sarvajnam. What is Sarvajnatvam? He will show. First, understand the line. He say, Sarva Shaktitvam Tavat. First, to begin with, we handle with Sarva Shaktitvam. Sarva Shaktitvam means, being the potential for everything. So if you say your Brahman is the potential for the whole universe, Brahman holds the potential for the universe, I can say subtle matter holds the potentiality for the universe. If a conscious being is like, water holds the potentiality for the wave. Clay holds the potentiality for the pot. In that manner, if you say Brahman, the conscious being, holds the potentiality for the universe, I can say even subtle matter holds the potential for the whole world. Why? Because it is the Pradhanam which transforms and becomes the world. Therefore, the Pradhanam has the potentiality for the world. Like the milk transforms and becomes the curd. So the milk holds the potential for the curd. Simple. So Pradhanam also holds the potential for the world, because it is the Pradhanam that transforms and becomes the world. So, in this manner I can interpret. Sarvashaktitvam tavat, as regards the Sarvashaktitvam, Pradhanasyapi, Pradhan ka bhi, Swavikara Vishayam, by way of changing. Swavikara Vishayam. Upapadyate is logically tenable. It is tenable to say, if it is tenable for you to say that Brahman is the potential for the world, it is also tenable for me to say that Pradhanam is Jagat Karanam, by way of transformation. By way of transformation. Are you able to follow? By way of transformation means Pradhanam, by way of transforming, becomes the world, just as the milk transforms and becomes the curd, and therefore the milk can be said to have the potential for the curd. Similarly, if Pradhanam can transform and become the world, then the Pradhanam can be considered to have the Sarvashaktitvam, the potentiality for the universe. So Pradhanam also is Sarvashakti. Evam Sarvajnatvam api upapadyate. Evam, in the same manner, Sarvajnatvam api, even being the all-knower, upapadyate is tenable. If your Brahman can be omniscient, if your Brahman is all-knower, my Pradhanam also is all-knower. How Pradhanam is all-knower? That he says here. Yattu jnanam manyase sa sattva dharmaha sattvat sanjayate jnanam iti smritehe. He quotes the Smriti also. Thank you. Anyway, you go by Shruti and Smriti. So I am quoting your scripture. I am not quoting my scripture. The Sankhya says, I am not quoting my book. I am quoting your book, on which you stand. I am quoting your book, which says, really Jnanam is nothing but the transformed quality of Sattva Guna. Yattu Jnanam Manyase, what you call knowledge, Sa Sattva Dharmaha, that is only a quality of Sattva. And Pradhanam has got three gunas. Pradhanam has got Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, Tamo Guna. Tamo Guna transforms and becomes the world. Rajo Guna transforms and becomes your vitality, Shakti, the capacity to work, Prana Shakti, okay, your energy. Rajo Guna becomes your energy. Tamo Guna transforms and becomes the world. And Sattva Guna transforms and becomes your senses and thoughts, the mind, intellect, etc. And when we say Jnanam, for us Jnanam means only thoughts. Jnana means perception. Jnana means memories. Jnana means all that we come to know through the senses. The sensory perception is Jnanam. Memories is Jnanam. What else is Jnanam? And Jnanam by definition must involve the means of Jnanam. And the means of Jnanam are the sense organs. And therefore the sense organs and the perceptions, the knowledge, the thoughts, the memories, the likes, the dislikes, the pleasures, the pains, all of them are nothing but the transformed Sattva Guna. Therefore, Pradhanam itself transforms and becomes the world. And it transforms and becomes your energy. It also transforms and becomes your thoughts. And if you say thoughts themselves are Jnanam, then all the thoughts put together is called Sarvajnanam. That is called Sarvajnam. Are you able to follow? Who is talking? Guru Pakshi, the Sankhya is talking. So all thoughts that are available in the creation are nothing but Sattva Dharma. Therefore, the entirety of the realm of thoughts is called Sarvajnatvam. The entirety of the realm of perceptions, the entirety of the realm of thoughts, the entirety of the realm of memories, the entirety of the realm of perceptual knowledge is what is called Sarvajnatvam. Are you able to follow? The entirety of the sensory perceptions is called Sarvajnatvam. And that whole Sarvajnatvam is the transformed look, form of Sattva Guna. Therefore I can say, if Sattva Guna belongs to who? Pradhanam. Therefore who is Sarvajna? Pradhanam is Sarvajna. If you say Brahman is Sarvajna, I can also say Pradhanam is Sarvajna. Because all Jnanam is a result of Pradhanam. Whatever transformation becomes the world, itself transformation becomes the body, and itself transformation becomes the senses, and itself transformation becomes the perceptions. And therefore, Yattu Jnanam Manyase Sa Sattva Dharmaha. And your scripture also says, knowledge is born of Sattva Guna. See, Sattvat, Sattvase, Sanjayate is born. Jnanam, hey, all your perceptions are born of Sattva Guna. Iti smritehe. Iti Bhagavad Gita smriti. Because Bhagavan Krishna himself says, anyway, you depend upon your Shruti, you depend upon your Smriti, and I am quoting your own Smriti, Sattvat Sanjayate Jnanam. Iti smritehe. Clear? Follow the argument. Tena cha sattva dharmena jnanena karyakaranavantaha Purushaha sarvajnaha yoginaha prasiddhaha. Tena cha, in this manner, sattva dharmena, by this sattva dharma of pradhanam. And what is sattva dharma? Jnanena, knowledge. Knowledge, which is the sattva dharma. Karyakaranavantaha, all the individuals in the creation. Karyakaranavantaha means what? Karya means the body, karana. Karyakaranavantaha, all this you can make a correction. Karyakaranavantaha, not Karyakaranavantaha. Karyakaranavantaha, not Karyakaranavantaha. You can make that ka into ka. You can remove the dirgha. That's wrong. Karyakaranavantaha, meaning these individuals who have got the body and the senses and the mind, they are called Karyakaranavantaha. Purushaha, the individuals, Jivaha, Sarvajnaha, they become Sarvajnaha, they come to know everything. Yoginaha, which are really yogis, Prasiddhaha, are well known. You see, some individuals know some very little, but when you undertake yoga, which yoga? Patanjali yoga. Why? This is Sankhya. Because his Shishya is Patanjali. Understand? This is all very beautiful, interesting if you follow. This is Sankhya is a Kapila. Kapila had a disciple. उसका आश्रम बनाए तो उसको देखभाल कौन करेंगे? तो शिष्य को जरूरत होती है. Isn't therefore somebody has to be there. Understand? And this Patanjali is called really Saishwara Yogi. And Kapila is a Nirishwara Sankhya. Nirishwara Sankhya means he did not accept Ishwara, whereas Patanjali is called Saishwara Sankhya. And he gave a program for controlling the Atma for withdrawing the Atma from the body. And that is called Raja Yoga. Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, Asana Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. These Ashta Anga Yoga. And those who follow that yoga are called yogis. And they come to gain the knowledge of everything in the universe. And therefore, and that Sarvajnatvam also is a quality of, we know that yogis become Sarvajnas, omniscient. They come to know everything. And these yogis, when they come to know everything, that knowledge also is a sensory perception or in the form of thought. And it is anyway in the form of thought. So whether it is a yogi's thought or is a layman's thought, thought is a thought. And that thought is called jnanam. And that is the result of sattva dharma. Therefore, the sarvajñatvam as felt by, as experienced by the yogis, is something that is nothing but sattva dharma. And therefore, alpajñatvam is sattva dharma. Sarvajñatvam also is sattva dharma. That means jnanam by definition is sattva dharma. Jnanam by definition is sattva dharma. It is a transformed look of sattva guna, which is the quality of pradhana. Clear? And therefore, here he says, well, tena cha sattva dharmena jnanena karyakranavantah purushaha sarvajñaha yoginaha prasiddhaha. All these yogis are well known to be sarvajña. Thus, my dear Vedanti, if you say Brahman is sarvajña, I say pradhanam is sarvajña. Pradhanam is also sarvajña. I can interpret this way. Sattvasya hi niratishaya utkarshe sarvajñatvam prasiddham. And this is, what is the distance between alpajñatvam and sarvajñatvam? This is the distance. Sattvasya hi niratishaya utkarshe. When the sattva guna dominates the other two gunas, when the sattva guna grows and grows and grows and grows and grows beyond certain limits, meaning when sattva guna grows and grows and grows to its full potential, full capacity, that is called a niratishaya utkarsha. It can no longer grow. It grows and grows and grows. It dominates the other two gunas called tamoguna and rajoguna. So when sattva-guna grows to the full, then the same sattva-guna results in sarvajñatvam. Are you able to follow? The maximum growth of sattva-guna results in sarvajñatvam. That is called a niratishaya. Atishaya means, surpassable. Niratishaya means unsurpassable growth, inexcellable growth, maximum growth. When sattva guna grows to the maximum extent, then niratishaya utkarshe, utkarsha hone par, utkarsha means growth, sarvajñatvam, then one becomes sarvajña, prasiddham, and this is well known. That he says that is prasiddham, that is well known. Well known way. Well known way that prasiddhatvam also has to be, it is subjective prasiddhatvam. It is well known, Sankhya says it is well known. It is well known that all those who follow the yoga, they grow in sattva guna and become sarvajñas. It is well known that when you practice yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, etc., you become sarvajña is well known prasiddha. And here, just for your, this is the right time to make that statement, right? This is the right time to correct the definition of prasiddhi. Prasiddham means not what results. What is effortlessly there is called prasiddha. Prasiddha shabda cannot be used for well known, means it is not something that becomes. That is not well known. What is already there without my having to make any effort, that is called prasiddham. And it should be prasiddham to everybody, well known. But aisa to nahi hai. But anyway, that is how he defines prasiddham. I hope you are able to follow. He says that the yogis become sarvajñas, and that is well known. Okay. Our topic here is only this much. If your Brahman can be sarvajña, my pradhanam also can be sarvajña. If your Brahman can be sarvashakti, my pradhanam also can be sarvashakti. Pradhanam is neuter gender, Brahman also is neuter gender anyway. And therefore there is alliteration, there is similar. If your Brahman can be neuter gender, my pradhanam also can be neuter gender. That's samana linga also. Brahman is neuter gender, pradhanam is neuter gender. Brahman is sarvajña, pradhanam also is sarvajñam. Brahman is sarvajñam, pradhanam is also sarvajñam. Brahman is Sarva Shakti. Pradhanam also is Sarva Shakti. If you quote the Shruti, I can also quote the Shruti. And therefore, Sattvasya Niradishaya Utkarshe Sarvajnatvam Prasiddham Na Kevalasya Karyakaranasya. There also again wrong. Karyakaranasya. Not Karanasya, Karyakaranasya. Purushasya Upalabdhimatrasya Sarvajnatvam Kinchijnatvam Va Kalpayatum Shakyam. Not only my Pradhanam can be Sarvajnam and Sarva Shakti. In fact, your Brahman cannot be Sarvajnam, cannot be Sarva Shakti. This is another problem. Brahman cannot be Sarvajnam, Sarva Shakti, because you always define Brahman as mere presence, just to be. That means your Brahman is not in the form of a thought. Neither it is in the form of a thought, nor it is capable of a thought. Understand? It cannot transform and become a thought. And what is jnanam? Thought. Thought is jnanam. Brahman is not a thought, nor is it, nor can it entertain a thought. Please understand. Brahman is not a thought and cannot entertain a thought. Therefore, Brahman cannot be Sarvajna. Whereas Pradhanam can transform and become a thought. Therefore, by way of being the material for the thought, Pradhanam can be Sarvajna. But Brahman cannot be Sarvajna. Why? It is not in the form of a thought, nor it is capable of entertaining a thought, because your fundamental definition of Brahman is Asti Tyeva Upalabdhavyaha. Brahman should be understood as mere presence, just to be. Just to be. And that point he makes it here. Kevalasya. The Brahman that is there alone as non-dual, that is called Kevalasya. Akarya Karanasya. And your Brahman doesn't have a body, it doesn't have Karana, the senses. Brahman doesn't have a mind. Brahman is free from thought. Brahman is just is. It is free from the body, free from the senses, free from the mind. Akarya Karanasya. Purushasya. A conscious being. Upalabdhimatrasya. And you define Brahman as a mere presence. Upalabdhimatra means what? Just to be. That is called Upalabdhi. Just to be. It is only evident to be. Upalabdhimatra. There is no kriya. There is no kriya. If there is something without doing any kriya, that is called Upalabdhimatra. Upalabdham means what? Present. आजकल मेरे पास पैसा उपलब्ध नहीं है. What does it mean? मेरे पास पैसा. If you are a very Kashi, you are coming from Banaras, then what language do you say? हमारे पास धन पर्याप्त उपलब्ध नहीं है. हमारे पास धन पर्याप्त मतलब enough उपलब्ध नहीं है. मीन्स व्हाट? हमारे पास पर्याप्त पैसा नहीं है. बस. उपलब्ध मतलब होना. Not उपलब्ध means नहीं होना. Now what is Brahman? Upalabdhi matram, a mere presence. In Sushupti what are we? Upalabdhi matram. But anyway, we will not go into the topic as per Vedanta says now. What does Pradhanavadi think? Pradhanavadi thinks according to you, meaning according to your interpretation of Vedanta. He doesn't even say according to Vedanta. According to your interpretation of Vedanta, God is a mere presence. Brahman is a mere presence. That means he is neither in the form of a thought, because thought is not a presence, thought is an action. To think is not a presence, to think is an action. Therefore, Sarvajñatvam must be in the form of action. It is in the form of thinking. Therefore, it is not Upalabdhi. Pradhanam can change and become a realm of thought. That means Pradhanam can become Sarvajna. Brahman cannot be Sarvajna because Brahman is not an actor, because he doesn't have the body, he doesn't have the senses, he doesn't have the mind. Therefore he can't entertain a thought, nor is he in the form of a thought. Brahman is a mere silent presence. A silent presence cannot thought. And therefore, Kevalasya, Akaryakaranasya, free from the body and the senses, Purushasya, a conscious being, Upalabdhi Matrasya, the one who is in the form of a mere presence, Sarvajñatvam, Upalabdhi Matrasya, Sarvajñatvam, to be omniscient, Kinchijñatvam va, are to be limited in knowledge, Kalpayatum na shakyam, it's not possible to imagine. It is not possible to infer. It is not possible even to imagine. It is not possible even to think that a mere presence is capable of thought. A mere presence is capable of thought. And if Brahman is not capable of thought, then we can't say he has got limited knowledge or unlimited knowledge. Because all knowledge has to be in the form of thought. A single thought is a thought. 1,000 thoughts also are thoughts. So if you have limited number of thoughts, then you have limited knowledge. If you have countless thoughts, if you have countless perceptions about everything in the universe, then you are called Sarvajna. Brahman is not capable of either a single thought, nor is he capable of countless thoughts. Therefore Brahman, who is Kevalaha, who is Upalabdhi Matraha Purushaha, and who is Akaryakaranava Brahma, for him Sarvajñatvam or Alpajñatvam. Neither he can have a single thought, nor can he have a crowd of thoughts. That means he can't be Sarvajna. Whereas Pradhanam can be Sarvajna. Why? Pradhanam can transform and become one thought and many thoughts. That means Alpajñatvam as well as Sarvajñatvam both belong to Pradhana. If you have a single thought or a few thoughts, you are Alpajñaha. You don't know much about the world, you have limited knowledge. You have a lot of knowledge, then you are Sarvajñaha. Thus our Pradhanam alone can be the Sarvajñaha. Your Brahman in fact cannot be Sarvajñaha. And therefore if Vedanta says Sarvajñam is Jagat Karanam, then it should mean Pradhanam is Jagat Karanam, not Brahman, because Brahman cannot be Sarvajña. Brahman cannot be Sarvajña, because he is a Upalabdhi Matra. You always say he is silent. Silent means what? Can't think, can't will, can't become a thought, can't transform and become a thought, because you say it doesn't change. And therefore, by accepting that Brahman doesn't change, you have put yourself at a very, very, very serious disadvantage. Whereas when we say Pradhanam can transform, then we have an advantage. That means Pradhanam can transform and become anything. In fact, through the changeability of Pradhanam, we can explain everything. Because everything is a transformed form of Pradhanam. Bas. And everything goes back into Pradhanam. And Pradhanam again manifests and becomes the whole world. In this manner, we can always interpret Vedanta Vakyas, we can always interpret that Brahman is not Jagat Karanam, but Pradhanam is Jagat Karanam. Kinchijñatvam va kalpayatum shakyam iti Trigunatvat tu pradhanas sarvajnana karanabhutam sattvam pradhana avasthayam api vidyate iti pradhanasya achetanasya sataha sarvajñatvam upacharyate. Now see, Trigunatvat tu. Yes, we will complete this sentence. Trigunatvat. Pradhanam has got three gunas. Your Brahman doesn't have three gunas. Brahman is gunatitaha. And there also you make a mistake. You put yourself in trouble all the time by saying that Brahman doesn't change, you get into trouble. And Brahman also is free from three gunas, another trouble. Whereas we say Pradhanam can change and Pradhanam also has got three gunas. And see our advantage. Trigunatvat tu pradhanasya. Pradhana having, because Pradhana has got three gunas, Sarvajnana Karana Bhutam, the material for the all-knowership, Sarvajnana Karana Bhutam. Sarvajnana Karana Bhutam means the material for the entire knowledge, the material for the entire realm of thoughts, the material for the entire realm of perceptions. Sarvajnana Karanabhutam, Sattvam, the Sattva Guna. Sattva Guna is the material for the entire realm of perceptions and thoughts. Sattvam, Pradhana Avasthayam api, even before the transformation, it is there as unmanifest in Pradhana. Pradhana Avasthayam api, even in the stage of non-creation, even in a silent stage of Pradhanam, Pradhana Avasthayam api, Vidyate is there. What is there? Sattva-guna is there. Sattva-guna, which is the material for all the realms of perceptions and thoughts, is there even in the state of resolution. Even when the whole world resolves, back unto Pradhanam, in that Pradhanam, Sattva-guna is there. Vidyate iti, Pradhanasya, the Pradhanam, Achetanasya iva, which is inert matter, well, Sataha, which is the source, Sarvajñatvam, Sarvajñatva, the quality of being Sarvajñam, Upacharyate, can be figuratively said. Even though thoughts are Sarvajña, but we can also say the source is also Sarvajña, because it's like, the clay is pot, like the water is wave. Even before it becomes wave, I can call the water the wave, the future wave. Future wave. Like even before he becomes the Prime Minister, you can say, is the Prime Minister in the making. Is the Prime Minister in the making. Is a doctor in the making. Is a musibat in the making. Is a musibat in the making. We always say that because when you see his halchal, he is going to really create for me the problem. Is a musibat in the making. Similar Pradhanam in its original state, what is it? It is Sarvajña in the making. That is called Upachara. Indirectly. Actually Sarvajña means thoughts, but even the material for it can also be called Sarvajña. Iti Upacharyate. Clear? And thus, my dear Vedanti, there is no use of thinking that you are the Siddhanti, we are all the Purupakshis. In fact, I am also a Siddhanti and I can make you the Purupaksha. In fact, in Sankhya Siddhanta, who is the Purupaksha? In their book, Vedanta is the Purupaksha. In Sankhya school, Vedanta is the Purupaksha, Vaiseshika is the Purupaksha. Everybody else becomes a Purupaksha. In Vedanta, everybody becomes a Purupaksha. In Sankhya, everybody else, including Vedanta, becomes a Purupaksha. In Karma Mimamsa, not in Karma Kanda, in Karma Mimamsa, the Advaita Siddhantam becomes the Purupaksha. The Mimamsaka school, not Mimamsa of Jaimini. Jaimini Mimamsa is different from a Mimamsaka, a particular school. They make the Advaitam as Purupaksha. In Advaita, Mimamsakas become Purupaksha, but a Mimamsa doesn't become Purupaksha. Karmakanda doesn't become Purupaksha. Because Karmakanda doesn't argue that Jagat is not Mithya, Jiva is not Brahman. Karmakanda only says if you perform this ritual, you will get the result. There ends the matter. And that is what analyzed by Jaimini. Therefore, we have Vedanta has no jhagada with Karmakanda. It has no jhagada with Jaimini, the one who has written Mimamsa. The local Mimamsakas, there is a particular school which holds, which says that your rituals themselves can liberate you. Rituals can bring you material results. Is Mimamsa, is Karmakanda, it is no problem. But the Mimamsaka or school is that which says if you perform rituals and if you continue to perform rituals, you will get moksha. You don't require jnanam. That is called the local school of thought. It is that local school of thought that becomes Purupaksha in the Vedanta Siddhantam. And in their school, Advaita Vedanta becomes Purupaksha. And therefore, everybody is a Purupaksha. Iti who says? Sankhya-vadi says. Sankhya-vadi says, I can interpret your entire Vedanta in the sense of Pradhanam iti. Thus, Bhashyakara is presenting Sankhya. Hey, this is Sankhya. This is how they say. This is how they think. And this is not a given person's thinking. This is exactly the universal thinking. Why? Because every human being tends to think that matter must have come from another matter. If matter has come, it must have come from another subtler matter. And that must have come from another matter. In fact, that is what even the physicists think. I don't think physicists have even hypothetically think. Maybe some consciousness is behind, they don't think. They say matter must have resulted from matter, some energy. Energy must have come from another source of energy. In this manner, this is a universal thinking. Unless it is a universal thinking, it doesn't qualify to be a Purupaksha. Every jiva must have that, that basic, that impulse, that temperament to think in that manner. Every jiva does think in that. It should be swabhavika. Unless it is swabhavikam, it doesn't become a Purva Paksha. And every jiva does think, well, before the birth I was nothing and after death I was nothing and therefore ultimately nothing. We do think in terms of emptiness as the source of the world. We do think in terms of matter as the source of matter. And we do think in terms of atoms as the source of the universe. And therefore whatever is there in our nature as an individual, to speculate about the source of the world, that all becomes Purupaksha. But God sitting in heaven creates the world, doesn't become a Purupaksha. Because that nobody thinks. Theology is not Swabhavika. God is other than me. I am not God. This much is Swabhavika. I am an individual, and if there is someone unlimited, must be other than me. This much is there. But there is no Swabhavika thinking. This is universal thinking. I am a limited being. I am not unlimited. If there is someone unlimited, it should be other than me. This is universal thinking. But sitting in heaven, God created the world is not a Swabhavika thinking. Is not a Swabhavika thinking, please. Sitting in heaven, God created the earth is not a Swabhavika. Therefore, it is not universal. Therefore, a theology doesn't qualify to be Purupaksha. Leave alone Siddhanta. Theologies don't qualify to be Purupakshis. Why? Because it's not Swabhavika. Swabhavika ends here. What is it? I am limited, and if there is something unlimited, it's not me. It's not me. It should be other than me. Where is it? What is it? I don't know. I am not that. I am not that. Sitting in heaven, God created the world. Is it universal thinking? I say, if that is universal thinking, then you don't have to convert anybody. Anyway, Swabhavika, everybody thinks that way. Then everybody becomes a natural theologian. Everybody becomes a Christian by Swabhava. That means you don't have to convert anybody, because if everybody thinks by temperament that sitting in heaven God created the earth, that becomes a Christian theology, then everybody would be by Swabhava a Christian. You don't have to become a Christian. Are you able to follow? And therefore, no theology can be Purupaksha. No theology can be Purupaksha. Only these Pakshas are Purupaksha. Therefore, very judiciously, very clearly, Vedanta has taken the Purupakshas, dismissing which you have dismissed everything. You dismiss the matter as the Jagat Karanam, you have dismissed everything. If matter is not Jagat Karanam, then Chetanam is Jagat Karanam. By showing Chetanam as Jagat Karanam, then you have unfolded everything. That means you become the Jagat Karanam. You become the truth behind the whole appearance. The very one who sees the appearance is the truth of the appearance. The one who sees the dream is the truth of the dream. The one who sees the snake is the truth of the snake. The one who sees an appearance is the truth of that appearance. In this manner, Vedic culture unfolds the Brahmatvam of this very Jiva, slowly educating him, preparing him, educating him, preparing him, ultimately qualifies him to grasp what? Vedanta says. This Vedic culture is different from some theology which came about. Somebody came and said something and then goes about making rounds all over the world. See? Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hare